Peace, 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 peace. Hopping on. That's what everyone says, hopping on. I gotta come up with a new entry slogan. You know, people come in, what's going on? Peace, peace, peace. That's mine, I guess. Whatever. What's going on? How do you address people that aren't watching you yet, right? Anyway, I want to share some thoughts. I'm driving, and as soon as I turn on the camera, I lost my train of thought. Because that's how it works, right? Being observed. I've been thinking a lot about the subconscious mind. I've been thinking a lot about it lately. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And it seems the more I think about it, the more I start to see it in action and understand it more and the power behind it. And one of the main things that I'm realizing, which I've always known, but I've realized how far I've let things get throughout the pandemic, especially. This is how things perpetuated because, one, I lost my job last year, and which was a blessing, but I lost my job, which led me to be able to do my own thing full time now. And the point I'm getting at is how important your morning routine is. And I know you've heard that before, and it's kind of like, maybe it's not common sense, but for people in the space that I'm tapping into, which is like personal development and mindfulness, that's pretty common knowledge. The most important thing, or the biggest takeaway rather, that I'm realizing is how easy it is to allow your external environment to manifest through your daily life when you allow radio, TV, social media, when you allow these external forces to infiltrate your subconscious first thing in the morning. So, for example, I've never been a TV person first thing in the morning. I've never been a news watcher. I've never been a phone looker first thing in the morning. I've always known that the phone is a trap, especially social media. I've always known this. But throughout the pandemic, especially last spring, when quarantine and everyone's home and most people are laid off or working from home, you have this flexibility where you can kind of mosey into your day in the morning. I was finding myself logging on to social media first thing in the morning, and I never did that. I always knew that was a trap. But as it became more of a habit and I allowed myself to do that more, I started to realize how much what I was viewing on social media was dictating my mood throughout the day. Not only was it dictating my mood, but it was really starting to distort my reality. And what I mean by that is the things that I was seeing on my social media was out of my control, right? Your timeline is an algorithm, and it's based off of what you look at and based off of the things that you engage with and the media you engage with. And at that time, I'm interested. I'm a curious person. I'm very much like into all things, especially the obscure. So I was, finding myself in some rabbit holes, and what I was realizing was the things that I was like viewing and the things that I was consuming was triggering me. And I was allowing that early morning social feed to really determine what the rest of my day looked like, whether I wanted it to or not, because it was being programmed into my subconscious. Now, what I've learned is that your brain is in a certain state or in a certain frequency first thing in the morning. And the frequency that it's in, and I'm talking to myself at this point. Oh no, I'm not. It's still recording. The frequency that it's in is an alpha state. So when your brain is in alpha, you're taking in a lot more into your subconscious, and your brain is almost more malleable at that point, if I'm not mistaken. That's how I understand it. So whether I wanted to or not, even just scrolling past things, you're allowing these pictures and these images, because the subconscious works on imagery, and you're allowing them to really penetrate into your subconscious. So it could be something you scroll through and you disagree with, and it ends up, kind of affecting your mood, whether you realize it or not, or it starts to affect your belief. So be very careful with what you consume in the morning, especially when you're on social media, because the thing is, you don't really get to control what you're viewing and what's coming into your timeline. It's the same thing with radio. It's the same thing with television. If you wonder why it's called programming, and because we go from one to the other, and we never give ourselves time to just disconnect. So it's like, if you're going from the house and you're listening to the radio in the house, or you're listening to the television, and you're just letting these things play in the background, and then you get in your car and you put on music, you put on the radio, and then you get into your destination, then you're on your phone on social media. It's like you're constantly consuming all this external stimuli. So that external stimuli is essentially, it's programming you. Now imagine that happening throughout the course of your entire life. Think of how often, you went from morning cartoons to school, which is another form of programming. That's a whole nother topic for discussion. But you go from school, from your morning cartoons, back home for afternoon, after school cartoons or whatever you did after school, play your video games. And it's like this constant feeding of all this other information, unless you're actively choosing to what you want to do or what you want to view. I understand we have streaming platforms for music now. Maybe you don't listen to the radio, but to some extent, unless you're really actively in control, you're going to be programmed. So be careful, be mindful, be very aware of what you're feeding to your subconscious mind, because the thing is, your subconscious is working 24/7. When you're asleep, it's active, it's absorbing, what it's taking in. So if you fall asleep with that news on, you fall asleep with the TV on, it's just programming. And you're going to wake up and you're going to not realize how it's affecting you, because it's all subconscious. Anyway, I'm at my destination, and that's my thought for the day. Peace.